Hey everyone, welcome to Conditional Statements lecture. So in this lecture, we're going to cover the if, elif, which is short for else if, and the else statements. So these statements for conditionals are extremely important and they really are fundamental to any programming language, not just Python. Okay, so we're going to look at 3 examples. So the first example is with the if, elif, and else statements. And here we're going to be working with these variables. So A is equal to 10, B is equal to true, C is equal to 200, and this D list is equal to a list of these strings of animals. Okay, so let's say, for example, we have A equal to 10, which of course is going to evaluate to true. So if I put here the if, and then we're going to do a colon here. So if this is true, which it is, then we're going to have Python do something. So in this case, going to keep it simple, and we'll keep it on the same line for now. So print A is true. If I do shift and enter, you can see we have the output of the string A is true. Okay, great. Now, if I were to hit the enter, you can see Python automatically indents this line of code, this print statement here. And if I run it again, you can see it works. And this is really how it should be. Okay, so if I were to do a shift and then hit the tab and try this time, we're going to get an indentation error, as you can see here. So Python expects any of your code in the if block. This is an if block, this here, anything after the colon, it expects it to be indented. So I'm going to hit the tab to indent it, and you can see now it works again. All right, so I can also hit tab a few times, and you can see it works still. Let's just do Control and Z to undo that. However, if I were to have another one, let's say we have another print statement. So we'll just do above this line. Now, if I were to do shift and enter, you can see it works. However, if I were to move this to the right, now they're not in alignment anymore. And if I run it, I'm going to get another indentation error, as you can see here. So Python expects all your code inside this code block here to be aligned with each other. So I'm just going to do Control and Z, and now run it, and you can see it works still. And again, I can also just change to something else. Let's say 10 plus 12. You can see that works. However, if I were to indent it, you can see there's an error there because of an indentation error. All right, so let's get rid of that. Now let's say, for example, I want to have an else. So we have an else if the if statement is false. So we'll do print A is false, which of course it's not at the moment, but let's say I put in 1, 2, 3, and you can see now it's false. All right, so essentially the else statement is a default statement that's used if everything else fails. So let's say, for example, here, we could have another one. We could have another if statement. So if, let's just do B, which is of course true by default. So we'll just do print B is true. Okay, so you can see here we have the output of B is true. However, I can do here elif. Now the difference between elif and if is that it's essentially a shorthand for else if. So if this doesn't work, then it will go for this. Okay, so let's just go back here. So we have A is true. However, I have to do this. Both of them are now going to be evaluated, A and B, as you can see here. If I put it back to the elif, you're only going to get the output of A is true, as you can see here. All right, so let's say we want to have another one. So we can have as many elif statements as we like. So elif, let's do, what was the other values we have here? C is equal to 200. So let's try that one. So we'll do C equal to, let's say 200. And we'll do print C is true. Okay, so of course we only have one output here. Now if we wanted to have all of them outputted, what we can do is instead of the elif, we can have a nested if statement. So right here, like this, because it's so zoomed in, I have to put it like this, but you really shouldn't have it like this. It should have some space in between, right, like this. However, because I'm so zoomed in, I have to do it like this, so we can actually see the variables. That's easy to reference. I'm just going to get rid of this line here as well, actually. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of the space, just so it's a bit easier for me to work with. Okay, so let's just run that and see what happens. Okay, so now you can see that we have the output of A is true, and we also have the output of B is true. And that's because it's evaluating both of them. Okay, and if this were to be false, so of course A is not equal to 101, it's only equal to 10, then is this going to run? Well, no, it's not going to. So you can see it went straight for C, it ignored the conditional statement of if B is true, because this here evaluated to false. So B, so this one here, if B, this nested if statement is dependent on this being true. If it's not true, which it's not in this case, then this will never be evaluated, and that's why it went straight for this one here. However, if this were to be false as well, then it's going to go to the else statement, as you'll see right now. So you can see A is false. So this one here evaluated by default because this was false. And this one was also false. Okay, so what about the last one here? We'll have dlist. So let's say we have another one. And I'll put this to 10, so that's going to be true. And we'll put in here. Now, of course, just to remind you that this is not ideal to have it like this. It should really be like that. But because there's so little space, because I'm so zoomed in, I'm just putting it like this. So let's say we have cat in dlist, which of course is true. Print D is true. Okay, let's just run that. So you can see A, B, and D are true. Now, if I wanted to, of course, have this one, I could just put this as a nested if statement. Now, there's something to bear in mind, and that is it's not ideal to have, let's just make this space actually, so it's just a bit more readable for me. Okay, so just bear in mind that it's not really ideal to have all these nested if statements. It can actually become very cumbersome. So I would recommend that you avoid doing excessive nested if statements. So let's run this anyway. Okay, so you can see A, B, D, and C are true. Okay, great. So let's take a look at the second example now. Okay, so here we are with example 2. So we're going to be using a practical example with the input built-in Python function. So you can see here we have these 3 dictionaries, so adict all the way to cdict. And we have here different species, so we have dog and rabbit and otter, cat and raccoon and so on. And so for example with the dog we have names like Teddy and Cosmo. With cat we have Maya, Dante and Chloe and so on. So let's say for example there's a pet owner and he or she is looking for their pets and they've lost them and they're trying to find perhaps that their animals at an animal sanctuary or a shelter. So let's say we're looking for a dog called Teddy. So what we can do is we have here the find equal to the inputs. We put in the species and then the name of our pets and we set it to lower just in case. Okay, so let's say we do print animal and then we'll do name. So we'll do dog and Teddy. Okay, so you can see here that we have these variables now, so I could actually just use name, and I can also use the animal species. So we can use those 2 variables to look inside of any of these dictionaries to find if we have our missing pets. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I have here if, and then we'll do here the animal in adict.keys. So if you recall, just to remind you that this dictionary, if I do this, you can see we have the keys, and I can do in here dog in, and we get true. If I put in something else, let's say snake, we get false. Okay, so from there, what we can do is we have if, so nested if statements, and we'll do name in adict, and then we put in animal. And then we'll do print, so we'll use an F string, so found my pets, and then we put animal, and then we put it in here name, and then we do title. That's going to capitalize the name of our pets in -a dict. Okay, and actually that should be like that, and this one should be like this. Okay, that should be fine. But let's give it a go. So dog and Teddy. Okay, great. So you can see found my pet dog Teddy in a dict. If I were to try something else, let's say dog Bobby, let's try. Okay, so you can see nothing happened there. So we'll have an else statement in a second, but let's just go ahead and copy this. So this if statement with this nested if statement. And I'm just going to paste it here. And all we have to do is just change it where need be. So A and A here, just put that to B. And here as well, of course, we'll change this to B. All right, so let's say we want to find another animal. So let's say we want to find a rabbit, and the rabbit's name is Floor. So what I'll do is rabbit and then Floor. Okay, found my rabbit, my pet rabbit Floor in bdict. Great. Let's say I have to do something else. Let's say snake Bob. Well, we don't have a snake in any of those dictionaries, so we get no output there. So we'll do an else statement in a second, but let's just copy. Actually, I don't need to copy, so I can just do right here, because I've already copied the first one. And again, we just change this. So change those two to C, and this one here to a capital C. And let's say we want to find, let's say walrus and thieves. Walrus and thieves. Okay, great. And let's put in a else statement then. So if we can't find any, then we'll just do print F statements here, or F string rather. Your pet animal is not in any dictionaries. Okay, so we put in, let's say snake. Well, it should be lowercase, but it doesn't matter because we're setting it to lower. Let's say hope. Okay, so you can see here your pet's snake is not in any dictionaries. Okay, great. And I can also put in here a nested else statement as well for both of them, or actually all three of them, excuse me, for A, B, and C dicts. So let's just do it for one of them. So we'll do else print your pet's animal name.title is not in a dict. Okay, so we'll just try that. Let's just do dog, and I'll say Tom. Okay, so your pet dog Tom is not in a dict, and your pet dog is not in any dictionary. So we have this else statement being used here as well. Okay, so that's fine. So you can essentially copy this if you like, and it does get a little bit repetitious, but that's because of what we have just touched so far. We can't go beyond that. So this one, and then we'll just put here this one as well. All right, that will be a C. Okay, so if I do, let's say otter, which I believe is in the second one. Oh, it's in the last one, C dict. Okay, so if I put in that and I put in, let's say, Tommy, so your pet otter Tommy is not in C dict. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the third example, which is essentially a variation of this one. Okay, so here we are with the third and final example, which is essentially an alternative to example 2. So we're going to be going over the none variable and also using the get method for our dictionaries here. So you can see that we have the same dictionaries from the previous example. And what I also have here is an animal list. And this list is created from all of the keys for all three of the dictionaries. So you have here the keys of dog all the way to walrus in this list here. So what we'll do is if animal in our animal list, then we'll have here a nested if statement. So if, and then we'll do adict.get animal. And I'm just going to grab this and just show you what this is doing, just as a reminder for the dictionaries. Okay, so if I just paste this here and I put in, let's say, dog, for example, you can see we get the names of our dogs that we have in our A dictionary, so Teddy and Cosmo. If I were to put in something else that doesn't exist, so we don't have a snake in our dictionaries, we just get none. And you can just double check this way, so if equal to none, which is true. Alternatively, you can do is not none, and we get false. I put in dog though, we get true, because as you just saw, we have those two names that list. Alright, so all I have to do is just grab that, and what I'll do actually is just paste that here and just put in the animal one instead. So our variable, and then we'll do and adict.get animal again, but I'm also going to have here name in. So that could be, let's say, Teddy or Cosmo. Okay, and then we'll do a simple print statement with the f string just like before. Found my pet animal name title, just to capitalize it, in a dict. Okay, so if I run this, it should work. Okay, so we'll just do dog Teddy. Okay, great. So you can see that works. If I put in something else, let's say snake Bob, we get no output there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just copy this. So we're going to have another nested if statement here. Now that's not really what we want, but I'll just show you why that's the case. But I'm just going to change this here. So we have the A and the A here, change that to a B for our B dictionary, and also this capital A to a capital B. Alright, so let's just try that and see what happens. We'll do, let's take a look at the dictionaries again. Okay, so you can see here we have rabbit and we have floor. So that's for our B dictionary. Let's try that. So rabbit, floor. Okay, great. So you can see that works. Now you might be wondering, well, what's the problem here with using two of these nested if statements inside of this if statement here? Well, if I put in two else statements, and you'll see what I mean. So else, print, let's just do a dict ran, and of course this one is b dict, so let's just change that. Okay, so let's run this and see what happens. We'll do dog Teddy. Okay, so you can see b dict ran, and we also actually had, so we got this here, found my pet dog Teddy in a dict. So this ran, this here, but this also ran as well. Okay, actually all of this ran because we're checking twice, and that's actually a waste of computational power. So another way of just showing you, if you want to have both the b dict run and also this one, the a dict run, all you have to do is, let's say we have dog, and then we'll put in something that doesn't connect with it. So dog we know is in a dictionary, but floor is in b dictionary. So if we run that, you can see we have both the else statements running, because this is going to evaluate to false, and this is going to evaluate to false. So what we have to do then is we have to put in an elif instead. Now if I run this, this is not going to work anymore. Okay, it doesn't like to have another else statement there. Remember, you can only have one else statement when you have an if statement here, where they're all lined up like this. So I have to get rid of this. And then what we want really is, we want to put something a bit more meaningful. So I'm going to put in here an f string of, let's say we have found an animal. Let's say we have animals, but none by that name. Okay, and that should be fine. Okay, so we'll just do dog. Let's do dog, but we'll put it in, let's say, Bobby. So we don't have any Bobby, but we do have dog. So we should have this else statement here run. Okay, so we have dogs, but none by that name. Okay, great. So let's just grab another one. Paste it here. So remember, you can have as many elif statements as you like. So here I'm just going to change this to a cdict. And here as well. Okay, so let's take a look at our C dictionary. Let's do Otter and Lila. Okay, so found my pets Otter, Alita in cdict. Alright, great. So that concludes my lecture on conditional statements. I hope that's been insightful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Thanks.